Howdy, folks. Hope you're well. So you have to bear with me testing a bit of new software out that I'm trying to see if it makes it any better. So we're going to talk about what's good, bad, and what needs to change with the sport. Hey Jimmy, hope you're well, mate. So I wrote my first article in the British Homing World and various other magazines in April. And I just put quite a lot of thought into my take on the sport as someone that's been in and out of it since I was 12. I've had 32 years of it being in and out, and sometimes from a distance looking at the sport. And the reality is the numbers have been going down. We all know that. And the public perception hasn't got any better of the sport. There's an argument actually with certain elements like PETA and whatever, it's got worse. And a lot of what I've been saying is been well received. Some of it hasn't. And if you look at what where we're at now, the numbers are down within the RPRA. I believe they're down by 2/3 in the last 15 years or something. There's 21,000 registered flyers or members of the RPRA. Similar numbers in Ireland, IHU, Welsh and Scottish organizations as well. And Greg, you say, the only thing that needs to change is the politics. And I'd like you to expand on that. What do you mean specifically? You mean the politics amongst flyers, within clubs, within the organizations? Let me know what your thoughts are. Certainly, there's a lot of crap that goes on. Chris, how you doing, mate? Martin, we need Barry Hearn desperately. I have tried to contact Barry Hearn, and I will continue. It is on my list, and I will continue for it to be so. There's an argument with someone like him that we're not quite ready. What I mean by that is, if we can show some progress, and I'm not just talking about it all being me, I'm talking about as a sport that we eventually want it to be. If we can show some progress, there's an argument that actually we'll be better positioned to attract someone like that and start working with publicists and promotions and what have you, actually when we're a bit more progressed. Because if you look, for instance, and you just look at the one-off racing as an example, we're kind of at the infancy of where things are at. And I think a year or two down the line, with a lot of hard work and some dedication, we can get it actually a lot more advanced than it is now. And maybe that's the time to then look to contact someone like Barry Hearn, if that makes sense. I think there's a lot that we can do in the next 12 to 24 months that perhaps stand us in better stead as a sport to attract someone like that, if that makes sense. Ultimately, we know, we've got some of the things at the higher top of the list that we know are major issues. This is not a negative live. I don't want it to be a negative live. I want it to be a proactive and objective and a forward-thinking live stream. But the harsh reality is there are some pretty significant issues with the sport. We know about the bird of prey issue, and I think most people would agree that's right at the top of the issue, certainly within the UK and Ireland. I believe the organizational structures of the main organizations have some severe bloat issues and organizational structure issues. But the harsh part of it is that's just the only side. That's not just the only side. Ultimately, we are not recognized as a sport, and it's a big issue, and it needs to be because it should be. But it also has a public perception issue still. And I think actually it's a chicken and egg situation, isn't it? It's like we need to be doing more things to get that public perception changed. You know, things like the one-off races last week, that will help. You know, we had people watching it. Out of the people we had watching it, we had wives and partners watching it. We had kids watching it, and we actually had people that have previously got no interest in racing pigeons that were watching it, and we had non-flyers actually at the event, and we attracted a couple of new people, one specifically that had never kept racing pigeons before and is now hooked and interested in keeping them. So things like that will help. Let me just read the comments. Pigeon Club politics. Fed's not doubling up on further races. Combines needed to be open to all, not just this club and that club. Wipe the past clean and think of sport in the future, or we'll end up in the tumblers, not races. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty spot on thing. You know, there's an argument that needs. Well, I've talked about this before, but it's. I think it's got to be a case of just we've got to go with it as it is for now. There's an argument that we talked about clubs shouldn't change boundaries to stop letting people in. There's so much BS that goes on a local level that, you know, it's funny because in America, people celebrate winners. In the UK, they don't tend to do that as much. And within pigeon racing, within the sport of pigeons, they do it even less. And that's a severely flawed mentality. So I think at the heart of thinking, like I said in my articles, and like I've said previously quite a while ago, if I'm being beat at something, I'm going to do my damnedest, however long it takes, to compete and to start beating those people. Whereas a lot of clubs, and maybe feds, just ban people from being in them. I mean, that says more about the people making those decisions to do that than it does the people winning. You know, there's an argument that the entire organizational structure of combines, feds, and clubs needs to be looked at and changed. But that's a massive undertaking, and that's something that's just not going to happen quickly. And that then leads me on to the second part of what I said earlier when I was telling this is going to be available, this stream's going to happen. You know, what can private individuals and businesses do to shake this up? We set up the Pigeon Sport Future Foundation last week, and we're going to be rolling that out because actually that gives us the chance to do our own thing without all of the red tape and the committees and all of this stuff, we will be taking it forward ourselves, and it will be a non-profit thing, and we will be doing various projects geared up to saving, preserving, and protecting the sport, but in addition to obviously developing it, growing it, and promoting it. And ultimately, although it's a non-profit thing, it's a private thing, which means there's no bullshit and there's no red tape and there's no massive layers of committees and stuff to go through. If we believe it's a good idea, we'll go for it. So yeah, let's read some more comments. Read the comments. So, Martin says darts and snooker was on its knees, and the one-man Hearn globalized both. I completely agree. We talked about Barry Hearn before. As I say, I have tried to make contact. It hasn't been fruitful yet. But like I say, there's an argument that actually, and again, I don't want to sound big-headed, or I don't want to sound like I'm blowing my own trumpet, but if you look what, I'll sound it at the risk of sounding it for a minute or two. Forgive me if I do. I've been at this now for just about 5 months. And the momentum I've got, it's pretty decent. It's not as good as I would want it, but it's all right. And if you look at, say, this time next year, where that momentum can be at, just what I'm doing, let alone what everybody else is doing to bring things forward, and you combine that, and then you say there's a good case that in a year or 18 months time, with a lot of new things that I'm talking about doing and others are looking to do as well, and others are already doing, that actually it gives a better argument to then start looking to really hit someone like that then, not now. Because this is just at the very beginning. Like I talked yesterday about my ideas for One Love races, introducing syndicates, introducing betting. Now, I'm not saying for 1 minute, well, for a start, the syndicate thing can happen. That's not easy to do, but it's realistic that it could be done by the end of the year and be set up. The betting thing's a whole other ball game, or that's a long-term, big money plan that needs licenses, it needs big setups. It's not easy. But if you can progress things like that and you've got those things in place, and then I and others that are doing this stuff, promoting the sport, going around One Love races, and One Love races over the next 12 to 18, 24 months are going to increase in their numbers, increase in their interest. We can introduce the syndicate stuff. We can demonstrate that non-flyers, members of the public, are involved. Then there's an argument that actually hitting somebody up like Barry Hearn then is the right time, if that makes sense. It may be a little bit too early, if that makes sense. Right, let's read some more. Watching on the rest of Ireland. Joe, how are you? I was just talking about you, mate. Watching from the west of Ireland. Joe's the guy that was watching the feed last week, and he is hooked on racing pigeons. He tunes into almost every one of my feeds. And there is an example of a man that, as a result of watching that, I'd like to know, Joe, how you found out about the Facebook Live last week from Sean's race. If you could let me know, that'd be great. There's an example of someone that is now hooked on racing pigeons as a result of watching that, which is, Joe's one person that we could make this thousands down the line. David Vincent, the way forward. Martin, get racing pigeons into lounges, get our sport accepted by Joe Public, then you will see a change. Absolutely. Admittedly, he was a flyer, but one of the guys watching that race last week was watching it on his TV, because technology now enables you to watch Facebook Live on a normal TV. That's the key. But I agree, Martin, absolutely. Lee Hammond, live streaming of the One Love race was a great idea. Thank you. I'm doing Gary Tomlinson's Who Dares Wins 2 weeks today, and I'm now doing the RPRA one on the 8th of September. as well. Vincent McConnell, time for a change. I completely agree. So fire in your comments, guys, fire in your comments on. I'm just this new software is a little bit not. 1 second, guys. I'm just getting used to this new software. I've missed a. Chris Davis says, I think there should be more sections in the national races, and the sections at the moment are too big. Okay. Fair comment, Chris. Okay, so Martin says, I fit. It's all right, my screen wasn't at full screen. I'm playing around with this new software. So let me know what you think to this new software, by the way. There's so much more I can do with it. I can do different camera angles. I can get guests on. I get 4 people speaking at a time. I'm looking at introducing this new software. I'm just playing around with it at the moment. But this new software enables me to stream. It enables me to bring up to 3 other guests on. It enables me to have multiple camera angles, which actually is going to be really good for One Love races down the line. It enables me to do all kinds of stuff. So let me know what you think to it. See if I'd appreciate any feedback on it. Okay, so Martin says, I fit Worcester boilers the last 15 years. There has to be 50 different models, designs, and built. Every single boiler improved on the last model, all geared up for the customer and installer. That's why they are the market leader in domestic boiler manufacturing. They are a class product. Invest, invest, invest in your future. It's an absolute valid thing to say, Martin. And the trouble with that, and again, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I'll say it in my honest opinion. I believe the organizations are not investing what they should be. Now, you've got Richard over at the RPRA, who's the sport development guy now, and he's doing a great job within what he can do. And he's looking at bringing it into schools, and that's a good step forward. But the harsh reality is the RPRA, from what I understand, is sitting on just short of £1 million. And what are they doing with it? But this is why I say this is where private individuals and businesses and new enterprises can and should be taking the stand, taking the lead, and getting stuff done. Ultimately, one-off races are a business. So you've got these new businesses coming up, and they're looking obviously to make a profit, but they also know at the same time that they need to provide a good race, a good service, because ultimately they're only as good as their last race. So entries next year want to be more for most people, and it ultimately is a good thing if they continue to do well and look after people and do the right thing. That is the spirit of private and free enterprise. And you're right there, Martin. We do need to invest in the future. But I'm not entirely sure enough is being done with that within the organizations. And that's why we need to look at perhaps long-term getting more private investment in and more, like I said, more enterprise in general. So yeah, so what else is bad? Let's get some feedback. What else is bad, and then we'll move on to the good. Let's get the bad out the way, and then we'll move on to the good. If you've got any more comments, let me know. So, as I say, I'm a big fan of one-off races. I'm not going to go over that again, but I think it's a great way of getting new people into the sport. We talked a bunch about that yesterday on yesterday's live. You're right, the politics. I've heard some horror stories in the last 5 months about the politics and the bitchiness and the anti-sportsmanship and just people generally being assholes and horrible to people. And you have to ask yourself why and how that can change. You know, realistically, how can we change that mentality? Well, you're not going to be able to individually change people's mindsets. That's just not possible. Some people may be able to change long term, but generally we shouldn't be looking to change people's minds specifically. What we should be looking to do is change organizations and develop new strategies for organizations that just don't allow that crap. You know, a lot of the things that happen, a lot of the bitchiness and the crap that happens is because the organizations allow it to happen. And that is where, you know, the idea that things are run from the ground up is not necessarily, in theory it is the case, but in practice it doesn't work. And if organizations then don't allow this stuff to happen, then that's how it needs to change. The bird of prey issue, a whole other issue which we're not going into today. We've got our first European Eagle Owl project as a long-term project to help with that. But ultimately, again, a lot of the work needs to come down to the existing organizations that are there. And, you know, I'm not entirely sure that long-term that can win. So that's where you say, okay, let's bring some control back and say, right, what can we do? Which is exactly what we're doing with the PSFF Foundation. So you've got some key areas. You've got the bird of prey issue. You've got all the politics and crap that go on and the mindsets of people. Combined with that, you've got an anti-winning or an anti-doing well mentality. You know, I know for a fact there are people watching me now, whether it be live, probably not live, but on a replay, that hate what I'm doing for whatever reason. And actually, it's weird because it did get to me in the beginning a little bit because I'd only just started and I had these people, they didn't even know me. But actually, I use it as motivation because I laugh at them now and I'll just use that as more motivation. And every time I do a live, I have people that have blocked me on Facebook, but yet still watch my videos because all of my videos are public. That's a mentality you're never going to change. And I don't care about changing people that don't want to be changed. And that combines with this bullshit, bitchy thing going on. So you got the birds of prey, you got that kind of stuff. You've got this top-heavy organizational structure with so many layers and red tape to get anything done. That's a major issue as well. We can try with the birds of prey stuff what we can the best do. Bitchy people, can't really do much about that. Like I said, the only thing we can do to try and change that is change the organizations, if not reinvent the organization so that crap can't happen. The public's perception stuff, we can help change that long term. It's going to be a long road, but we can change it. And the more modern, revolutionary, and forward-thinking this sport gets, the more people you're going to attract to it. That can change. That's something in our control that we can do over a period of time. And you've got these people, like I said earlier, that don't want to see changes. They believe the sport of racing pigeons means that you race the bird to your own garden yourself. And ultimately that has been at the heart of the sport for hundreds of years. But the harsh reality is the world's changed. And although we still want people to do that, we're not going to be able to have people do that long term. That is not a sustainable, viable plan to reinvigorate, re-energize this sport. Now, some countries out there are bucking the trend compared to the UK and Ireland. In Poland and Romania, they are massively growing. And we know about China, 400,000 flyers in China now, 50,000 in Poland, about 15,000 in Romania. 15,000 people in Romania, that's 5,000 less than the RPRA have got. It's growing. I'm not married, but my parents-in-law live in Bucharest, Romania. And when my girlfriend was telling them that I've got back into pigeons, they say, oh yeah, we know pigeon racing is massive in Romania. And they don't know anything about pigeon racing, but they know it's massive there. Same in Poland, 50,000 people in Poland, from what I understand, fly. So 1.5 times more people in Poland flying than in the UK or through the RPRA. So there are countries that are bucking the trend. China's a whole different ballgame, obviously. But I still think within mainland Europe, UK, Ireland, looking to get people flying and just flying and relying on enough numbers coming in to do that, that's not a sustainable, logical plan. It's not an objective plan that's going to happen. Like I said yesterday in my live, I think one-off races have a key of getting potentially tens of thousands of people interested in this sport. And a portion of those will filter down to be able to keep their own birds in their own back garden to breed to go into one-off races, because it means you don't have to keep as many birds and you haven't got that time commitment it would need for racing. And then a portion of those people say, you know what, I want to race these birds to my own loft every week. And that's kind of my funnel plan, 3-stage plan for this. And I think if you go with one-off racing and getting people interested as much as possible, it doesn't have to just be one-off races. I'm not talking about one-off races just as they are now. Over a period of time, you can have small one-off races. You can have one-off races that compete weekly. Right? I talked about it months ago. What's to stop people setting up one-off race in every county, and they're a member of a club, and they're essentially a community loft that 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people co-own that loft, and one person runs it, and they've all got an interest, to be there on a Saturday morning when the birds come in, because they all own a part of that loft and they all have an interest in it. So when I talk about one-off races, I'm not talking about as they just are now, although I think they're a great vehicle and strategy to use, but there's a whole bunch of other one-off races type things that can happen. Like I said, the community idea, the community lofts. Imagine each county in the UK and Ireland having a community loft. One person's in charge of it, but then everybody else pitches in, whether it be money or time, to look after it. You get 10, 20, 30 people all interested in that loft, and that loft competes in a local club, federation, combine, etc. That's bringing more money, more interest in. There's a load more that can be done down the line. Let's see if we've got any more comments. Can I not see those comments? New software, I'm getting used to, folks. Sorry, guys. You'll have to bear with me. Sorry a second, guys. Although my hater said I didn't know how to get my little Australian hater said I didn't know how to get a guest on. I do, but this is brand new software. And for some reason, my all my comments are not showing. So I'm missing some of your comments, guys. I'm sorry about that. Why is that then? That's not very good. I'm just going to go to my other screen to see if I can see them there. Apologies, folks. I can see I've got comments and I can't see all of them, and I've missed some of them. So that's a little thing that I need to figure out. So I'm going to just try something different so that I can see the comments when I do this. Nope. Yeah. Okay, well, that's a bit of a bug in the system. I can't see all the comments, so I apologize about that, folks. I will respond to the comments. That's not ideal at all. Just going to try one more thing. Oh, that's a cool feature. I can show comments on the screen. Bear with me a minute, folks. I'm trying to figure a way out of this. Hmm. Right, I apologize. I've missed some comments and I can't scroll them down for some reason, which is really painful. I don't want to restart the screen. Okay. I want to hear me talking again. Oh, I've got the screen. I've got how much. Apologies for that, guys. That was a quite technical, believe it or not. But this new software was not playing ball with me. Right. Okay. So I got comments back. Okay. So time for a change. Okay. So there should be some more sections. We talked about that, Chris, already. Lee Sullivan. Yeah. Lee's a case in point. So Lee Sullivan's on and saying, I will show you his, because I can show you his comment. We are not doing it. Do you like that, Lee? That's quite cool, isn't it? Lee says we're not doing it for make money. So Lee's race down south, he's not doing it for the money. He's doing it for the love of it. And I told Lee when I first started speaking to him, I think people need to know that because it's a brand new race. And people need to know he's not doing it for the money. He's a successful guy himself, and he doesn't need to do it. But yeah, fair point, mate. Andrew Agnew, having more sections in national races and to get people involved in pigeon racing, we need new younger blood because the sport is dying. I agree, but it doesn't just have to focus on young people. Young people are a hard market just to focus on their own. Actually, people my age, 40s, 50s, that have kind of maybe had kids and now they've got some time to themselves, they got potentially a little bit more money. That's a good target market as well. People with disabilities. Chris Williams is an amazing example of that. People that experience social isolation. Pigeon racing is a great, as long as you don't get the arseholes, a great social thing to do. And I agree, young people should be involved. But again, it's that perception issue, you know, and I hate the word fancier, right? Alexander, a lot of you have seen him now. He would never describe himself as a pigeon fancier. He would describe himself as a pigeon racer or a flyer, not a fancier. The word needs to change. It's a bug. Use it unless it's in context. It needs to change. But I agree, young people, and Alexander's a good. I think Alexander's a good little secret weapon because I think if I can help with the guys that have offered to help him out, we can get him successful. And we can get him out there. I think it could be a good little secret weapon for younger people because if they see somebody younger in it, they're more likely than listening to us old fogies talk about it. Okay. So, so Joe, you found a lost racing pigeon, contact Atlantic Race. That's how I got into the sport by simply following all Facebook updates and then making the connection with you. Excellent, Joe. Thank you. Now I know. So catching up on comments, got a lot of comments, which I wasn't able to see. Every member should be able to fly in all clubs and feds. I agree, Vincent. Something I've said, you know, there should be set boundary, or should there be? Maybe not. But again, you can only get changes like that at the very top. And is that going to happen? Probably not. I've said it all along. Maybe there should just be a brand new club that sets its own rules and off it goes. That's a big undertaking, though. That is a big undertaking. Vincent says competition is key. Pounds rules. Yeah, I was having this conversation just before I started this live, which was a few minutes late setting this new thing up. Look, anybody that's experienced it experiences the anticipation and the amazement of a bird coming back. For a lot of us, that's big enough. And it's like I said to the guy I was speaking to earlier. I'm not a football fan. I'll watch football if I'm watching it with Zandy. But if I am watching a football match with Zandy, occasionally I'll have a £5 bet on a team, just as a more interest. Then you bring money into that, creates a bit more of an interest. And ultimately, money does interest people. As I said in my exact first article in the Homing World, there's nothing wrong with money. There was this big furore about it's ridiculous the amount of money that the Armando pigeon went for. Actually, it's not. It's one of the best things that could happen for the publicity. The publicity of the sport and that bird got was invaluable because it went for £1 million. But I agree, competition is key. And people that restrict competition, and do I agree, may help with people packing in and making more competition. Michael Moran, give schools that are willing a free entry in one-off races locally. I agree, absolutely. That's what the club fed racing is for. Everyone sends to win, but if you're not got the money to buy the best, you're wasting your time and money talks. Andrew, I disagree, respectfully. If you look, and this is I've been speaking to Seamus this week because I want to interview the winner of the one-off race at Sean's last weekend. I think I'm right in saying, I'm 90% sure I'm right in saying this. The bird that beat 524 back, I think there's about 150 or 60 back now. The winner of that race, which was 17 minutes ahead of any other bird, that wasn't bred out of big name, big money pigeons. Seamus and whoever else he's involved with in the lofts bred that bird themselves. Decent birds, but not necessarily expensive birds. So, yes, so you need good birds to compete, but you don't need big money, £1,000, £500 plus birds to compete, or the offspring of, in this particular case. I've always said that a £50 pigeon with the right training and all the other elements concerned, and this is where one-off racing levels the playing field, a £50 pigeon, and I'm not saying Seamus's bird was a £50 bird. It may have been, it may, I don't know. But I would guess that it's £50 to £100 bird if it was to be sold. Prior to it winning, it's going to sell for a lot more than that. Now it's won, of course. Can be, a £50 bird can be a £500 or £1,000 bird. And case in point last weekend, he didn't have, from what I know, he's not got big money birds. He's not a big money flyer. He's not a mud flyer. His bird 17 minutes before. So respectfully, Andrew, I disagree that if you've not got the money to buy the best, you're wasting your time. Tom says social media can introduce the public sport to the public, documentary style videos and displays in one-off game race with lottery type prizes. Lottery is a good idea as well. That's something else we've been talking about. Generate cushion, get involved, showing how people can get involved. I agree. Yeah, it's true. Feds are big, Andrew, and clubs refuse members. Definitely, something's got to change. Andy gives greed is getting worse over here over the years. Greed from what point of view, Andy? Joe says social media is how I got interested in sport. Now I'm new, and I'm totally new to this. Is how I'm hooked. You know, last week was social media. I think community loft idea is brilliant for kids to start nowadays. It can be a substantial setup cost, absolutely, yeah. And it's a great way of doing that. And I can see that, especially here in the USA. Same here in the UK. Derek Walsh, we've spoken about this before. Before my view of change, reality as a sport, pigeon racing needs to be officially recognised as a sport. Once that's achieved, itself brings the power to change and regulate the sport officially. Put in position to deal with hawk issues. Also, these are also countries that mention officially have recognised pigeon racing. It's not about one-off races. About, I agree. It needs to be recognised as a sport, as one element, as a big element. It needs to be, and that's something the Pigeon Sport Future Foundation is going to be aiming to do. I've hopefully got the support of a lawyer for the foundation who's going to be helping us with a lot of that stuff. So yeah, I agree, mate. It does need to be recognised as a sport. So there's the comment so far. So yeah, so you know, talk's great, action needs to happen. And as I said in my description, private individuals and new businesses and people like that can help make this change. The Pigeon Sport Future Foundation has been set up to help make this change as well. And moving forward, the harsh reality is this sport has got to change. Derek's right in about it needs to get recognized as a sport. It does. And I, with the Pigeon Sport Future Foundation, will try our best for that to happen. Because if that can happen, it opens up a whole new world of stuff. As I said, I'm a big fan of one-off races. I'm not saying they're the be-all and end-all of the thing, but I really think as a thing, they can really help to bring new people interested in this. So yeah, I'm just seeing if I can get. I don't get why I can't get these comments. That really does pee me off. I'm going to have to ask about that. So I'd like feedback if you think this is this okay, any good, this new software I'm using. As I said, I can do a lot with it, but I'm looking to use it. I'm actually trying to use it more for live. I want to see if I can use it for live outside coverage that I'm doing and stuff as well. In addition to, I'm going to be looking to bring a lot more guests on and stuff, so it's not just me talking all the time. Okay, so thank you for watching, guys. We're in about 40-odd minutes in, and I'd love your feedback. I always seem to get private messages, and that's absolutely fine after I do these lives. Comment any more thoughts you've got on the comments. Please share this video, and remember to subscribe to see me live if you want to keep seeing me when I go live and be notified when I'm live. Please share it. Give me your comments publicly and privately, and let's see what happens. Vincent says, smart in our overall look, etc. Modern times, modern ways. Yeah, I agree. Within my within what I can do, I will be looking to help do that. Andrew Agnew says we need to get the sport onto TV through documentaries to get back to the grassroots. I agree. We do. And I genuinely believe over time that can happen. Long term, that can happen. Realistic, objectively, it can happen as a long-term plan. I think we can get this on TV. I really do. So thank you. Thank you to everybody that's been watching. I'm going to go and crack on and get some more work done because I'm back on my own here now. So I've got loads to do and finally get caught up, hopefully by tomorrow. And thank you to everybody that has watched. I'm blown away by people's interactiveness, and certainly more people are joining, more people are chatting. And this is ultimately what it's about. It's about getting the conversation going, people giving their own opinions, even if they don't agree with them all, and cracking on and moving forward, because big things need to happen. And I, for one, I'm up for taking on big challenges and getting to where we have to be. And whatever I can do to help, I'm going to do it. And let's hope others feel the same. So thank you for watching. Like I say, please share if you will. Let's get other people commenting on this after it's gone live. And let me know any thoughts you've got publicly or privately. Thank you for watching. Keep flying, be lucky, and have a good rest of your night.